Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's live stream. We are talking about the state of AI and advertising. We've got a killer panel for you guys today. We are going to dive straight into intros, keep this brief. We were just talking offline how we hate when the intros go too long, so we want to keep this succinct. So let's kick it off with Veronica. Welcome. What do you do? And thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. I'm Veronica, based out of Dublin today, and I lead customer. I'm a customer marketing manager at LinkedIn. So excited to be joining you today at the panel.
Amazing. Alex, welcome to the live panel.
Thank you very much. Hi, I'm Alex Davis. I'm the Director of Global Paid Media at Trustpilot, and yeah, dialing in from just outside of London. Getting the last razors through my window. Nice.
And finally, Boris, welcome to the live panel.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I'm Boris. I'm the Director of Performance Marketing at Synthesia. So paid ads, SEO, website, conversion rate optimization, life cycle, localization, all of this kind of falls within my remit. We use AI a lot. I'm personally looking forward to learn a lot from today.
Nice. And for context for everyone listening, like the reason we wanted to do this is because everyone in this room here is like, we're actually in the ad managers doing things, we're thinking about ads and its impact on advertising. Like we are people who are actually doing the work. And I don't know about you guys, but a lot of times, like when I go to LinkedIn these days, you know, there's ultra high FOMO. This is something we were all like talking about before recording. Like the FOMO has never been higher than it is today. I feel like every time I load LinkedIn, there's a new Claude workflow that if I'm not using, I'm like, you know, behind the crowd, if you will. Yeah, and we just wanted to like get real people who are doing this stuff, figuring it out, right? And I think if somebody says like they have all the answers, like I think that's just like a lie, you know? I mean, this space is moving way too quickly to claim you have all the answers. So just wanted to bring us all together so we can workshop from our perspectives, like what we're seeing from different sides of the coin. In terms of like how AI is actually impacting our day-to-day. If you guys are here on the stream, feel free to drop comments and then we will open it up to Q&A at the end. And let's dive in with the first question, if you guys are ready.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. So question number one is, what actually changed in the last 12 months when it comes to AI and performance marketing? Who wants to jump in first on this one?
Go on then. I mean, for us, I think not a huge amount yet. I think the biggest thing that's changed for us in performance marketing is really on the admin side. Now, that's purely because that's, I think, where we use AI the most at the moment, is just enabling people to build presentations, write documents, write briefs quicker, more effectively. You know, a big thing. So paid media at Trustpilot is essentially an agency within the business. So we act as center of excellence, whatever you call it. But even with other departments like studio, briefing has become a lot more, I'm going to say, consistent, because AI is helping that. Now, I think we spoke in one of the other sessions about the increase in AI slop, as you might call it. So just pages and pages and pages and pages of useless documentation that kind of bubbles around, not really making a point. And I think that's one of the kind of key challenges that we're facing is, how do you actually have, sure, it's great writing a 2-page brief, but is that useful? You know?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting too, Alex, that you mentioned not as much has changed, because I think right now, I mean, if we just go based on like the current sentiment of the market of like what everyone is saying, everyone is like, at least this is my take, it's like everyone is speaking from the perspective of like, my life is dramatically different today than it was 12 months ago, right? Like my day-to-day workflow, my output, like the way I actually get my job done is so much more different. And from what I'm hearing you say, it sounds like, yes, it's been impacted, but is it as dramatic for you yet? I'm just like, just to unpack that a bit.
I don't think the fundamentals have changed, and I don't think the fundamentals will. And this kind of comes back to this, you still need people to do things right now. And it was quite interesting, Sylvia, you said at the start, we're all in the ad managers, right? How long will we be in the ad managers for? How long before those platforms, those interfaces are needed anymore? They are necessary. I think there will come a point where they're not, but I don't think we're there yet, and we do still need this human in the loop, which is why, I mean, we're not building campaigns with AI yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
Asterisk,
the day will likely come, right?
Yep, totally. What about you, Boris? What's been your experience over the past 12 months?
Yeah, I would probably +1 in terms of there hasn't been like very fundamental changes that my day-to-day or just in general, like the job description or what I do has changed that much. But we do see like a couple of areas where we apply AI a bit more and maybe even like slightly different to what it was in the past. So probably like the best example, like one of the best examples is AI video production. So the models definitely got much better, and they're much better these days versus a year ago, 2 years ago. So it's not like we are at the point where, let's say, we use AI completely to make all of our ads and basically change our video production. It's still not there, but it's creeping in like 20% range. So there are use cases where you can make great ads fully with AI. You don't need, actors and cameras and so on. And like you kind of forget about the traditional video production. But for some ad concepts, it doesn't really work because you can quite quickly spot that it's AI. And people are smart. They see like, okay, if it's like a bit of a robotic movement or something is off in the video, it doesn't feel real. Like you can see with this like crazy video of cats on like, cats fighting someone, like you can see it's AI generated. So we're still not at the point where, okay, like 100% of our video production is now AI, but it is getting to the point where we have ads, which we call hero ads, in some of the campaigns that were completely generated with AI. And they are performing and they're bringing good results. So this is definitely kind of a change for us, and we're definitely doubling down on this area. It's not easy. It's not like okay, maybe you could make I don't know, video editor could make 1-2 ads a day before. Now with the specific concept, you can make 4 a day. So it's definitely helpful, and that's something that that we are doubling down on. So definitely like video production and AI video production is a very, very interesting area. And of course, like image generation and so on. Like now with ABM, you can make like personalized images, for example, for LinkedIn. That's like a very, very interesting area. So yeah, so this one I would definitely call out as like it changed a lot. Of course, like models got better in general. Now like AI can one-shot you things that a year ago, 2 years ago, you would have like 7 prompts back and forth, and now it's just like one shot, perfect and usable. And research got better, and so on. But like I would definitely stress the video production piece, and like ad production in general. Like that's if we could scale that and it's performing really well, that would be amazing.
When? I don't even think it's if. I think it's when at this point, 100%. Just like a new metric, prompt to value ratio. Like the prompt to value ratio is increasing for sure. How about you, Veronica? What's been your experience the past 12 months?
I mean, +1 to what the panelists said. I would probably say something that is changing is kind of on the other side of the coin is the user behavior or like the buyer's behavior, and like how we as performance marketers or customer marketers have to adapt. So more and more people we see are using or doing research on like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever tool they are using, and the research happens sometimes before they see the ad. So like, how do you show up in LLMs, and how do you make sure that you show up in a way that you want? So I would say that closing this gap of how you show up working with the team, making sure that you do in the way you want, and then basically the ads reflect how you show up there is something that I've been thinking more and more, especially when it comes to customer messaging as well.
Yeah, 100%. The intersections now, right, are only increasing, and now we have to be even more mindful of like AI citations and how are we actually getting ranked now. Fundamentally, a whole new discovery platform, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, Boris. You must see this with in the SEO space, right? It's not just well your website ranking and domain authority, all of this kind of stuff is still really important for that LLM discovery. It's not just your own spaces anymore. It's trying to curate your entire presence across the internet as a business, and because that's what AI has empowered, right? That's what these LLMs have empowered. So it's just a really, interesting space to come into. It's almost Google did a paper decoding decisions yonks ago, trying to decode customer journeys, and it's like AI has now just parceled this entire kind of discovery and reduction matrix into one concise answer. So you need to be everywhere all the time, trying to give the same message, and that's a challenge that I don't think we've cracked yet.
No, it's still a developing area. Like, the couple of thoughts here. Like, you need to be doing something different, but on the other hand, there's like a camp that like, okay, AI optimization is still SEO optimization, right? So the fundamentals are still there. It's the authority of your website. It's the quality of your content. It's the landing pages. It's the experience you're providing, etc. Yeah, this one is. I like how like from paid ads we quickly shifted to SEO on minute 12. But yeah, it's a whole new area, of course, and the tracking of it and the measurement of it is still like shaping up and so on.
Yeah, I mean, from a paid ads perspective, like we're getting questions now, like how does Google Ads affect, rankings and LLMs and these types of things? And it's interesting to see how all these different things are coming to play now with ChatGPT rolling out, ads in the near future and being able to play for placement now in conversations and what that looks like. There's so many different things that are unfolding. I would say from my perspective, in terms of what's really changed over the last 12 months, I think the first thing is that it's really exciting for anyone that has a service-based business. I don't think there's ever been a more exciting time, because I think for the longest time, investors didn't want to touch services, right? Like with a 10-foot pole, because of the operational drag, right? And like what it means to scale. And like a lot of people in the advertising space, if you're a freelancer, a consultant, agency owner, right? Every time you add 15 clients, congratulations, like you just added also all of this additional overhead to be able to support the increased demand. So I feel like we're kind of going through a transition right now where services will start to become more scalable businesses. So I think the CAC to lifetime gross profit for service businesses are going to dramatically improve over the next 12 months and beyond. And like fundamentally, I really believe like the role of the media buyer, the role of the performance marketer is evolving more and more towards almost like the analogy I do is like a stockbroker. Like when you think of a stockbroker today and you look at their desk, it's like they've got all these monitors everywhere, these charts. They're using logic and technology to buy and sell trades at scale. They're spending their time on studying the market, trying new investment strategies, schmoozing clients. I really see like performance marketers evolving more and more in that same vein, because to you guys' point, like back in the day when investors used to buy shares, like it was a very tedious and manual process, right? Now, like the thought of a stockbroker spending time manually buying shares is like so crazy to think of that. It's like, why? That's just like a huge time suck. But I think in today's world, like the performance marketers are what they were back in, the 80s, where like we're spending time manually launching campaigns. We're spending time manually deciding, oh, that ad's not good enough, we should pause it. And in reality, like these are the things that the machines are better at. Like selfishly, like this is why we built Sammy, like where we can build workflows that check your ads every hour on the hour. The moment the ad underperforms, at the very minimum, you get notified so you can take action, or it takes because you've got to sleep 8 hours a day. These machines run 24 hours in the background. It's just it's kind of like a no-brainer. And I think this is just kind of one of those things we'll look back on, like 5 years from now and just be like, man, do you remember when we used to launch Google ad campaigns manually? Like, I really think that's where we're headed.
I mean, we had the same thing 10 years ago, right? We were probably all sat at our desks making manual bid changes in Google or in AdWords 3 times a day, So I think, is this the next iteration of smart bidding and all that kind of stuff?
Totally. Yeah, and that's the tell right there. The fact that you said AdWords. Let's go to our next question. What's the biggest misconception you see among marketers trying to use AI? The biggest misconception. Veronica, you want to kick us off with that one?
Sure. I would say that you can probably outsource everything to AI, and AI is completely replacing us, what we do. I think AI gives us the power to be more powerful marketers and much more efficient. But in the end of the day, people trust people, and the credibility that you build within your company lies on storytelling and authenticity. So I believe that there still needs to be a human QA, and all the outputs should be double checked, whether they complement your story, your brand, and whether they portray everything that you believe in and you are trying to get out there. So I would say that's the good start of this question, and let's see what the others say.
Yeah, well said, well said. I like how you phrased it too. Like, AI is supposed to make you more powerful, right? As marketers. I'm curious, what's your take, Alex?
I really agree, Veronica, honestly, because as I said, I haven't seen yet fundamental shift in how performance marketing or paid functions, but productivity has absolutely got better because we don't have to spend our time. Well, we can spend less time, I'm going to say, doing, honestly, writing, because it's such a time sink, and being able to. I mean, I spend so much time. I know we spoke about this, but just dictating into a voice recorder, context dumping and brain dumping into a voice note, into a transcript, putting that into an LLM and going, having a series of prompts that will allow me to dissect that, cut that, give a specific output to a specific, user base or audience or whatever we want to do. That, I think, has been the most powerful thing to me. But that human QA piece, that human in the loop, is irreplaceable at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. What about you, Boris?
I'll definitely +1. Maybe what I would just add on top of human in the loop is the fact that if we talk about very very complex tasks, and you're trying to automate them, for example, with AI, it's not as simple as one prompt or multiple prompts. It's if you imagine running ads on autopilot, and what Silvio is trying to do, and he's been building this product for a year plus 2 years now, right? And it's still so much more to do, because you have to provide the right context, you have to integrate it with the right systems. You as a marketer, in B2B, you understand that optimization signals are rare, right? It's not like you get 1 million SQOs a day, and of course you can quickly figure out okay, if the cost per SQO or SQL decreases by 20%, pause, right? Or something like that. Making these rule-based decisions, even with agentic AI, is incredibly difficult. And we know this also from SEO workflows and so on. Imagine spinning out an insanely great blog post that is useful, that covers the topic really well, and that has the potential to rank, that has all the image assets, video assets, design, and so on. It's incredibly difficult. Like we spent, like months and like refining and we're still at the place where like, okay, we're kind of happy with the first draft. It still deviates here and there. We need to like fine tune it, and we need to keep iterating on this. And of course, like models will get better, it will become easier, but it's not that easy. It's not like, out of the box you just like automate everything. And like especially like from leadership point of view, where like, the CEOs, they're like, okay, AI is supposed to be transforming my business, but they're detached from day-to-day workflows, and like, it's like they don't spend the time to understand like all of these workflows, and like, okay, why do you have like 15 steps when you're building an article, and why do you need them, and why the content is still not at the point where you at the quality where you expect it to be. So yeah, like you see on LinkedIn, like everyone is like automating everything super easy. Let me show you, let me send you a guide. But in reality, we found it to be, incredibly difficult. And for some things, it also becomes like a return on investment question. Do we want to spend a month on this, try to get it to the point? Or is it actually fine if we spend like, 1 hour here manually a week on this and not automate it? It's like a very crude example, but you hopefully lands the point.
Yeah, no, I think it was well articulated. One other thing I would add on to that is right now I find that there is a zero-sum mindset around AI, which is people are thinking if it can't fully automate it, it's not valuable. Like the expectation placed on AI is so unreasonable. It's like imagine hiring a new team member and you don't give them any training, any context, anything, and then you're like, be great at what you do, and then obviously they fail, and then but it's like, it's funny, but that's exactly what people do with AI. They're like, I'm not going to give you any context. I'm not going to invest any time in training you, any resources. And I think fundamentally, if people can make the shift in their mind that AI is another team member, it's another employee that you're hiring, that will already set you up in a good foundation where you're like, okay, just like hiring, right? It's not an easily reversible decision, which kind of speaks to your point, Boris, around like the ROI impact, right? If I'm going to go down this road of trying to automate this thing, is it worth my time, right? Like, do I have the resource to invest in terms of training up this team member? And like, this team member in today's landscape are these agents, right? That can do these different tasks for you, and like building this agentic workforce. So I've noticed that is like, don't have that all in or nothing mindset around AI. Like, even if you can make it where some sort of workflow, even if it can't automate 100% of it, if you can automate 30%, 40%, for all of my service-based business owners out there, what 30% means to your profit margins. Like, that's a massive deal. So even if it can't do the full thing, if it can do part of it, that's still really valuable.
For sure.
Okay, we're doing good on time. I got the next question lined up for us here. So where does AI or automation provide real impact today for you guys in terms of your performance marketing efforts? I'll let Alex jump in on that one first.
I think I've touched on this a little bit and just say it's the productivity, and it's really interesting to the point that you made about it's like having it's training another team member, like because yeah, it is. It's guiding this model to understand what you want to do. But once you get there, it makes a huge difference. And I think, deviating slightly from the question, but I think there's the potential for that impact is the potential impact is massive, especially with conversational AI. And I know we touched a little bit on this kind of two-way communications changing paid and performance in general. We have chatbots, we have this kind of stuff. Do we taking that to the next level? And I think it's been phrased by somebody, I can't remember, it's almost the death of do not reply, of how do your emails become conversational as a standard. There's things like, could you in theory automate LinkedIn conversation ads to be actually conversation, and have a knowledge base of case studies that they could deliver based on the chat that they're having with the person. Like those potential interactions with the customer, they have the biggest value case for me, but also, honestly, the biggest risk, because we just said, it might save 30% of your time, it might give you way better performance, but also you're trusting a robot to speak to your customers. How confident are you in how well trained your AI is before you let it out into the world to go and essentially be the face of your business and represent you to your customer base?
One small example that I recently heard of what you're saying in practice was this local gym that they basically updated the hero section of their website to just be like an embed of a chat prompt with like an LLM, and people can just ask the questions to the LLM, like how much, what's the gym's hours, what's the pricing, what's the, you know what I mean? And they just basically trained it. It's like a local gym, like they just trained it on their, like how they do business, right? And like what people need to know. And that's like a good example of what you're saying in practice and the impact that could have, right? Like the sales process now, like you can front load it with like these conversations with LLMs.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The potential is massive.
Yeah. Let's speed up a bit. So Veronica, what is your take on AI or automation?
Yeah. I would say it's a great brainstorming partner, to be honest, and like synthesizing different research and insights. So when building a copy, for example, you can find so many different ways to say something and using different psychology, for example. So it's definitely much faster, especially if you give it good output, as we talked about. So you give it proper prompt ideas, examples, what you are trying to achieve, and then it can be really powerful. So I would say testing the creativity of the brainstorming partner is something that is very useful for me.
Yeah, totally. I even find that to be true in like one of the just small tactical use cases, like when you're trying to rewrite copy in shorter characters, like for example, Google Ads, it's like 30 character limit, 90 character limit. I'm like, God, like, how do I say this in 30 characters?
I would give for this back in the day.
Yeah.
When I was playing with characters, literally.
Yeah, totally. How about you, Boris?
Data analysis, for sure. Like we just, I mean, these days you just take like raw data you need, you dump it into an LLM, and you just ask questions, you prompt it, and so on. Like, now we can take like 12 months of search terms data, split by campaign, split by ad group, and we're talking about, I don't know, close to 1 million rows of data. And in the past, it was, you try to like write scripts or find scripts somewhere to somehow like analyze this data. I still remember like all the Google formulas, VLOOKUPs and ifs and range and index, and trying to combine all of them and like check in the help center, like how to write the formula that I need, that it will look up this campaign to this search term. And, all of this is gone essentially. So analyzing like such amount of data these days is like insanely easy. Of course, you need to validate a little bit, go into the account, check the trends. Maybe you want to like ask follow-up questions and so on. But from data analysis perspective, like using LLMs and AI in general has been amazing. Definitely saves a lot of time, helps making better decisions, and so on. And especially now, like this example with search terms is like Google goes broader and broader. Even like exact match is not exact anymore. So some things like fall through the cracks, and like some search terms you don't want to bid on, you ultimately end up bidding on. So this has been super helpful. So that's like one example, like very, very practical. The other one, very quickly, is landing pages prototyping. So like website prototyping in general. like we just found it like super helpful. Like in the past, it was like, okay, I have an idea, I find like some references, I would take a screenshot, I would describe my idea, I would send it off to a designer. But then what I have in my head is very different to what designer has in in his or her head. So then like now it's just like I dictate what I want, I maybe even paste a screenshot, and within like 5 minutes I have a prototype. Maybe I don't like something, I just like change it, like here's what I want, and then on top of that you apply your brand guidelines and so on. So like from the idea to the actual like execution of what you want, I think we're much faster these days. And plus one definitely like on copywriting, like being a great companion on copy and ideating and so on. And I mentioned like ads, video production, images and video, and in general like marketers becoming more technical, right? Like you can write SQL, you can write Python, APIs are not as scary anymore. Like these things are like it's much easier now. If you want to do customer research or analyze customer calls, like performance marketers can do these days. So if anything, you just become like more powerful on steroids.
Yeah, 100%. I feel it's accelerating the rate of innovation, fundamentally, right? Because it's freeing you up to do more of the things that are going to actually move the needle, right? Assuming you're leveraging in the right way. One just like tactical thing I'll drop for everyone on the line. If you're listening to us and you're like, man, this all sounds cool, but where do I get started? Like what's the 0 to 1? What I found to be the most helpful for me was map out all of your internal jobs to be done in relation to the different platforms. So for example, Google Ads, what are all the things you have to do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? LinkedIn ads, Meta ads, what are the things you're doing in terms of the client communication side? Like just map out everything, get it all out of your head somewhere. And then from there, you can start to like create a backlog around just like product development here. You create your own backlog where you're basically like, you start to rank, for example, like search term mining. What's the amount of time currently invested in that, the effort, etc. Like for context, we track our time in Clockify in the agency. And we found about like 30% of our time is spent on just like client communications. So one automation we're building right now in Claude is where when somebody just reacts to the message using a specific emoji, Claude will auto draft a response based on our knowledge sources. So just to help reduce the speed in time, because if we noticed that was a big bottleneck, right, in terms of like where our team is burning time. So for you guys listening to this, like tracking data, just listing out your jobs to be done is like a really solid next step. So then now you can really start to use AI more effectively, because the other trap that I see people fall into, it's like back in the day with like Google Analytics, people are like, what events are you tracking in GA? And everybody's like posturing around like, oh, I'm tracking scroll depth and this and, all these crazy events. But it's like, how does that fit in relation to your actual problems and like measurement strategy, right? So like in a different context, I see people doing that now on LinkedIn. They're like, I created this crazy automation, and it's like, cool, but did it actually like solve a real meaningful bottleneck in your business? But yeah, I just wanted to add that additional context. We have 12 minutes left. I want to just do some quick Q&A. We've got some comments, and then we can wrap up here. So I'll put Yassine's question here on the board. With AI now able to handle massive loads very quickly and execute precise actions in marketing, where does the human in the loop still fit in to maintain quality, performance, and brand consistency? What models are you seeing emerge? And how do you ensure we still preserve diversity in our ad content and campaign approaches? And at what level does human creativity remain essential? Oof. It's a big question. Anybody have some initial reactions to this?
I can start maybe.
Sure.
I mean, we kind of like everyone here like pretty much agrees that at this point human is in the loop is necessary. So like ask yourself a question like, would you trust an LLM to completely run your campaigns, change bids, change budgets, change the H1 on your website, change the copy entirely? And I would like imagine that most of us say, oh, actually, I would love to check before the implementation happens. So for sure, I would say like at this point, human in the loop is is very important, and it seems like we all have a consensus here. In terms of how it will change, it of course depends on the quality of the output and what happens to the models, to the models in the future. In terms of like emerging models or some things that like I see personally, one is like GPT is definitely not as dominant as it used to be in the past. You do have the emergence of Claude and Anthropic now, and Claude Code kind of took over the media space lately and amplified my FOMO for sure personally. So that's something like I'm exploring now quite actively and want to leverage as much as possible, like the agentic AI and so on. And then there are still some differences between models. So for example, like Gemini is much better at like video analysis, for example. So for us, like we run a lot of video ads, like we would have to like leverage Gemini for something like that. So there are still like, some differences, and GPT not as dominant as it was a year ago, let's say.
Yeah, well said. Anyone else want to jump in on that?
I think the marketing. I mean, Boris, absolutely +1 on the human in the loop piece, and I think it comes back to, is the role of a performance marketer changing now? Like, if we don't need to do the analysis, or if AI can do that piece of analysis, handle all of that data for us, does the role change in that we need to know what good looks like so much more and be a lot more kind of discerning in what is put out? It used to be, as you alluded to before, it used to be, we all needed to know VLOOKUPs, pivot tables, index match. Now we need to know what a great ad looks like, what passes that kind of the gut check, which is what the AI doesn't have. So yeah, that's one on that.
Yeah.
+1. Maybe what I would add here is it's to kind of preserve the diversity in copy or campaign approaches. Maybe comparing it in different AI tools is a good one, because I always get a little bit different approaches, and then just try to think what context I have or what I'm trying to do, and then try to pick the best one. But I would definitely compare.
Yeah, 100%. And one thing I'll just add on this around the point of you mentioned at what point does human creativity remain essential? In my view, AI is really good at iterative improvement, but it's not the best at coming up with like novel new concepts, because the foundation of all AI is it's taking reference material and then it's iterating off of it, right? But like it needs something to cite fundamentally, like at least in this current day and age, like AI isn't dreaming up new ideas per se. So for instance, like one tactical thing that we have found is like when it comes to creative testing, we call it the 3 C's: concept, copy, color. So testing concepts first usually drives a more significant impact in the short term. So like for us on the creative side, we can see a world where our creative strategists will spend 70% of their time focusing on new concepts to come up with out of the box thinking. And then AI could handle the rest of that workflow in theory, right? Where now AI handles the copy, AI handles the design changes, right? But the creative strategist can fundamentally put more fuel into the machine based on the outputs and the performance of what we're seeing. Let's move on to Sophia's question, as we got 6 minutes left. Sophia, thanks for commenting. Hey guys, thanks for sharing your experience. One quick question. What's one task every marketer should be automating? What do you guys think?
I can start again. I would definitely say reporting automation and alerting as well. So imagine Monday morning, you open your laptop, you get a nice Slack message of your performance over the last week. These are things to flag. These are things to deep dive into. This is how it's like 3 months trailing average, 4-week trailing average. These are potential like the causes of why it might deviate from the averages, and then you just like, okay, this is something I need to deep dive into a little bit more. And like alerting as well, like the things of you stop passing your conversion data, for example. So all of a sudden, like the conversions are 0 for 5 days. You don't know about this. Then you discover it a little bit later. So like some kind of notification system, alerting system is what I would say is super useful. And then of course, like with agentic AI now, I can't speak like from personal experience yet because we're still finding our way around it and like the exact applications. Maybe we do a follow-up call in like 3 months. I think we'll like progress quite a lot. But definitely something to look into for sure. It's again not going to be super easy, but I would definitely recommend that. That's where I'm going to spend my time next few months.
Follow-up sesh, walking through Boris's workflow. How about you, Alex or Veronica? Any thoughts on this?
For me, it's got to be +1 on the reporting. I think that is it's a no-brainer, and as you say, being able to dump a load of data, even if you don't have those kind of automated agentic workflows, just taking the data, dumping it, getting some initial insights, and then fact checking them back can save you so much time farting around in pivot tables and all the kind of stuff that performance marketers used to do. Honestly, just losing hours in Excel, you don't have to do anymore to get some kind of insight.
I used to think it was a flex that I knew how to do some ifs and VLOOKUP. Now I'm like, it's like, what? I spent all that time learning that.
Well, you thought would be a genuinely useful skill for the rest of your life is now utterly redundant. But
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and then I think the other thing that you mentioned, Sylvia, was that creative iteration. How can you iterate the really simple things within a concept? Because that is where we see so much value from ad copy and creative testing. It's that first point of contact with the customer. For any customer-centric business, that's where you need to be. It's that iteration of copy and landing pages. Again, Boris, as you mentioned.
Yep. How about you, Veronica? What would you automate? What's the rec here?
Reporting all the way, I would say. That's probably the biggest one. But maybe to add to it, I think it's very simple, but automating my reminders in like when I should check in on stuff from the reporting, or whether it's refreshing copy or whatever we launched. We just want to, so that would be like kind of like just so I don't lose the track of stuff.
Yeah, I love it. For me, I would say it's presentation creation. So much of the time, I feel like from performance marketers, we spend all our time justifying ad budget, reporting on performance. It's like not even like the actual doing of the campaigns. It's like how it's performing, telling the story, just all of the slide design. We were talking about this offline, but in Claude, we built a custom skill that's trained on our brand guidelines and how we approach presentations, and we fed it like great examples of past presentations that we've made. And it's pretty good. Like it's like, I would say 80% there in terms of the first response. And then now it's just a matter of like iteration of, oh, can you add these slides, or could we depict this visual in a different way? And yeah, so that would be my rec, Sophia. We have one final question for the last 2 minutes here. This one's a very tactical one. Thanks, George, for being here. Hi, thank you for the talk. What AI tools can you recommend for value-based bidding, automation/targeting? It's interesting to find your experience and average uplift in Google and Meta. Thanks. Anyone here have any experience around using tools for value-based bidding?
Not outside of the Google stack, not so much. Well, yet again, but I think that especially in platforms like LinkedIn, where manual bidding is still like a consistent way to go, like it's the first point of call. I think there is a massive potential for AI to be implemented in that, especially through tools like Sammy that have that integration and already have the rules-based logic. How can we make it agentic, make it that little bit quicker with that little bit more understanding of what the true business goal is, rather than just a conversion action or something like that?
Yeah.
I absolutely love this question. This is like such a hard problem to crack. And we have, I mean, maybe like George, you could message me on LinkedIn. I could probably record like a 1-hour podcast on this question. But definitely like in-platform value-based bidding, in my opinion, is the best. So Google, Meta, LinkedIn, Veronica, no offense, still not. Like still value-based bidding is there. But it's like what kind of data you pass and how do you score your leads? How do you assign value to them? That's, I think, where AI could like out of the box add value. So, you know, you have your firmographics, demographics, you know, your ICP, you know, what kind of job titles, etc., closing. And then AI could help you to assign a value to a lead that you're getting. And once the value is correctly assigned, because this is a critical piece, you would start migrating to value-based bidding. So on Google, I don't remember like exactly when we migrated from max conversion to max value. We still didn't tackle, like ROAS was much harder. It's much more sensitive, target ROAS, but value-based bidding we cracked. I can't share like the uplift numbers because I don't remember. It was definitely positive because we implemented it. Meta, we tried 4 times. Like still didn't work, and many hacks that we tried, and for us the max conversions is still the way to go.
Yeah, one thing that we're seeing anecdotally right now is count-based bidding is outperforming value-based bidding. This could be in relation to the fact that the majority of the accounts we're testing value-based bidding on don't have sophisticated setups, right? Like they're using like static ascending values, things like this. But what we're finding work better right now is just single conversion event, optimized at the campaign level, and then just trying to drive as much of the count as possible, because most of the B2B accounts that we're working in, like conversion volume is a challenge, you know? So yeah, we're just trying to optimize for as much as we can, because if we don't get a lead, then we're not going to get an MQL, we're not going to get an SQL, etc. And we've kind of found that to be what's working right now.
Yeah, and the variance in values is very important. If you assign one lead like 1 million and the other lead is $1, like this, you're just gonna like mess up the whole system. So like you have to have some thresholds, exclude outliers. It's not like as simple as it.
And it's cumulative too, right? Because like it'll continue to accumulate the value over time. I made that mistake. I put engaged visits as $1, and then I put leads as $2. And then fast forward a month, my engaged Google was just driving as many engaged visits as possible. So yeah, hope that was helpful, George. Just to be sensitive of time, I do want to close out here. Artem, thank you. Some feedback. It was fire. Thanks for the positive feedback. Thanks for being here, everyone, and thank you to the panel. If people want to connect with any of the panelists, we will have their LinkedIn profiles in the event page. But definitely reach out to all of them. They're incredible. And thank you guys. So grateful to have you here. And definitely could be cool to run this back in the future as like a post follow-up from our last AI discovery conversations.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cool. Have a good one, everyone. Take care.
Bye.